This past week, I got my monthly shipment of comics from my store, Phantom of the Attic, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This actually, I had them send it to me a little earlier because I had some new issues. I had a couple things they ordered for me. I had free comic book day issues and some back issues. So it ended up being a pretty decent amount of comics. So when I get these things, I like to spend a few minutes just talking about them. And let me know if you've read any of these or what you think of any of these in the comments. If you feel inclined to do so, I really enjoy that part. So without further ado, let's go. So first are the free comic book day issues, and there's basically two stacks. There's a stack of the things that I would be interested in, and the stack of things that I got for my son. Now, my son's 27 years old. He, graduated college. He's working professionally in the area that he studied. But he's the one that got the comic book gene, the Star Wars gene, the gaming gene, the real geek gene. And he's very knowledgeable about all that stuff. So, but this is stuff that he grew up with, so I can see why he likes it. So I'm going to do one-on-one. So first one is the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. I'm not really very knowledgeable about underground comics. I mean, I know who some of the creators are, I've read some of the work, but I really need to know more. And so I wanted to pick this up, and this is a very meaty free comic book. There's a lot of pages here. The quality is pretty good, and there's no, with the exception of these last two pages and this back cover, there's no ads. This is just content. It's a really great primer and a great way to, I think, kind of whet people's appetite for this book. So I'm looking forward to this. Some of this artwork is great. Street Fighter, because my son's a gamer, grew up with this stuff. Ninja Turtles. Now, he loves Ninja Turtles. I used to read Ninja Turtles from issue 58 to about maybe 120, and then I dropped it because after issue 100, it just seemed like there was nothing going on. I don't think Sophie Campbell was a bad writer. I just think that editorially, there was just nothing going on. It was like that old Michael Bendis trope of nothing happens. Well, really nothing was happening, so I just dropped it. I've heard that it's picked up, but haven't been interested in picking that up yet. It's Star Wars High Republic. I watched some of the movies, but not super into them. Ranger Academy, because he loves Power Rangers. That's his childhood. And then Star Trek. Star Trek is doing a new Day of Blood series, and then so you have two things. You have like the more serious Star Trek universe, and then you have Below Decks feature here. Now, stuff that I want to get. I actually got this because I really don't read very much Big Two. I really don't care. But the first 8 pages is a prelude to this Night Terrors summer event of theirs. But the first 8 pages of this are drawn by Chris Bachalo. And I just love Chris Bachalo. And I love all these crazy, weird panel layouts that he has, that, he'll break up all this action, these lines, but this is like one big scene. I just like the freedom that he's been doing that lately. Eyeballs look cool. I think he used these eyeballs in a Doctor Strange storyline when he was doing that comic several years ago, but I don't care. I mean, if you're gonna steal from someone, steal from yourself. Just really interesting artwork, good story. And then the last 2 pages are drawn by Howard Porter, who's also pretty good at superhero comics. So that's just the intro. If Chris Bachalo does any other issues, I'll definitely read it. And then the rest of it is the checklist, which is 44 comics, which is why these company-wide events, I know why they're done, but I mean, I actually counted, this is 44 comics. And then the rest of it is just character designs of different people who they're introducing. It's funny because they spent forever with the Batman Who Laughs, and they finally got rid of them, and now they're getting like Batman Who Laughs kind of characters again. And then here's some variant covers that they're going to be having. Okay, the Marvel Spider-Man Venom. Now, I really don't care about Spider-Man or Venom. I'll go see Spider-Man movies and the animated movies, but I really don't care. But the reason I want to point this one out is that there's a 4-page backup at the end. There's a prelude to a summer event. It's a summer miniseries, 4 issues. Apparently, it looks like Marvel is going to go back and to the Ultimates universe, and it's being written by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by Brian Hitch. Now, Jonathan Hickman is one of the few people in superhero comics that actually writes interesting superhero comics. The only knock I ever have on Jonathan Hickman is that sometimes the storylines just go on and on and on and on forever, and it's like, when is this thing going to end? But it's a 4-issue miniseries, so I'm sure it'll lead to other things. But at least, if I read in 4 issues and I don't like it, I can end it, and then I can like it, but I don't have to buy into like 2-3 years of storylines. And Brian Hitch was the original artist for the Ultimates, and this is something that actually when I got him in comics when he was 6 years old, the Ultimates and Ultimate Spider-Man, that is what he got into. That was the thing that really got him into comics. So this is kind of like a winner for both of us. What we got here? And then I Am Stan. So I loved his Jack Kirby book from Tom Scioli. This one I'm kind of more curious about. I read it, but I was more curious about it because, we pretty much all know Jack Kirby, and we all think of him like a saint. But, Stan, has taken credit for other people's work. He has kind of like screwed people out of their artwork. He did a lot for Marvel in the advertising, but sometimes he did it, but he didn't do the same thing with a lot of the artists. And so, my feeling as told people is that Stan Lee never said he created everything in Marvel Comics, but if somebody told him he created everything, he never corrected them. So the story's interesting, but and the art's a little different. It's not the same as the Jack Kirby book, but it's still that weird, choppy storytelling that Tom Scioli does. And there are certain scenes in here that, I don't know if he's just trying to do that thing where he's leaving it up to the viewer to interpret. But there's a scene in here where Stan gives an interview to a major magazine, and Jack Kirby complains that, he goes, "Hey, they made me sound like your flunky." And Stan's like, "Well, I don't know how that happened. I don't know." But you got to wonder if, Stan is really being honest with them, or if he's just, shining him on because Stan wants all the credit. And it's not really clear from the storytelling. So I'm not sure about this one. I acknowledge everything that Stan Lee has done for comics and for Marvel Comics, and I know that he had to get hip and put a toupee on and grow the beard and do all that stuff because he was just marketing comics to the college crowd. But I'm not sure if I'm going to buy this or not. But the comic is okay, but again, it's that weird choppy narrative that Tom Scioli does, where there's no ebb and flow, it's like that. And you can read it in chunks, and that's it. But after a while, at least for me, I got to put it down. So that's it for the free comic book day issues that I got. Next are the more recent issues. So first, let's start with Miracle Man, the next issue in the Silver Age. This is the only Marvel comic that I'm getting currently. Neil Gaiman still got it. I'm finding this series a lot more, it's unexpected to me because the series this arc is really focusing on young Miracle Man. His being able to adapt to the new world. And Miracle Man himself and the other characters are almost like side characters. They're barely mentioned. And it's really focusing on this character as a character. It's not just like a stand-in or a device for Miracle Man himself to do something. It's really focusing on the character of Dickie Dauntless, which is young Miracle Man. So I find it interesting, and I can see that there's a lot more of the story to go on based on the pace of this story. But I really like it. I think this is really very good. Okay, now number 12. I got this. I always enjoy this anthology. Great cover by Alex Graham. And great contributors as always. I don't know some of them off the top of my head. So Banu Pratap, I've seen their work before, I think in the Told to Tell anthology. Really like that quite a bit. This is Cynthia Alfonso, wordless comic story, but really cool colors, like the black pages. Story by J. Webster Sharp. J. Webster Sharp is one of those cartoonists that are on my radar, along with like M.S. Harkness and Harry Nordinger, who I want to read their books. I follow them on Instagram. I think the work looks really cool, and I just haven't gotten around to it, and I feel bad. So I'm excited to finally read this. She's a great artist. Let me see who else is here. 4-page Noah Van Skyver story. And then this story by, I'm going to try to pronounce it, Rahel Suskind. Really like this. Love the colors. Love this kind of pastel, kind of almost like, I wouldn't say crayon color, but just really pastel, beautiful color. This I'm actually going to enjoy reading. Actually, I want to read Little Stevie. I read it, and it's, I don't want to get into it explaining it, I'm just spoiling it, but it looked pretty interesting. And then there's a story at the end that's drawn by Pete Bagg about being a cartoonist. Back covers by Noah Van Skyver, so I'm really looking forward to this. And this is another anthology. This was unexpected. I didn't know what this was, but this is one of those like newsprint comics that you'll get like for free, like if you buy something. This is by Chad Billieu. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. He goes as by Chad in Amsterdam on Instagram. This is just a Sunday comic size, nice newsprint collection of comics. This is, the newsprint's really good. The colors are really great. The technology, as far as the quality of the paper for this newsprint, is really advanced in the last few years. These are just really lovely comics, really interesting art. I'm looking forward to this quite a bit. And we also have Blab. Blab Lives Again by Monty Beauchamp. French Flaps. A lot of great work. It's got work by Noah Van Skyver. 2 stories by Noah Van Skyver. One by story that feels features the work of Ryan Heshka. Just really interesting, good work here. There's actually 2 stories by Ryan Heshka. One is a comic about Siegel and Schuster. I love anthologies, and I'm glad that this is seeing print, and I'm hoping that this takes off and that there is more of it in the future, because comics needs anthologies like this. Really nicely made, great quality. Second story featuring prose with art by Ryan Heshka, who I'm a big fan of, and just really excellent quality. This is an anthology called Outcast Frontier. This is, I want to say it's local to the Pittsburgh area. Jeff, the manager from Phantom of the Attic, mentioned this in a Facebook post, so I thought I'd be interested in it. It's like a anthology with like that pulp feel from the science fiction comics of the previous century. So I'm curious to try this out. It looks pretty interesting. Always like to try new interesting stuff. And finally, Pee Pee Poo Poo number 420. Now, I never got this comic before because I always thought the title was kind of like silly. But too many people whose opinion I respect in comics rave about this book. So I think I have to give her my kind of dumbness here. And this is a one-shot that came out on April 20th. So I thought this would be great. It's got the Dan Klaus homage cover. Really nice printing. The lettering is like almost like this metallic kind of ink. Magazine size. Really well made. Good quality. Art looks great. This looks really rather interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading this, and you know, this is a lesson. You have to be more open-minded. At least I have to be, as much as I try. But this looks pretty cool. This looks really nice. I like this. So those are the more recent comics portion of my shipment. And for the back issues, I got 10 years of Love and Rockets. This came out in 1992. There's like a 10-year anniversary, which is amazing because we now just had their 40th year anniversary. But this is sort of like a primer and a summary, which is great for me because I've been getting to Love and Rockets, but I've been reading the stories out of sequence. I haven't started from issue 1, 2, and 3, and so forth. I've read more recent graphic novels. I've read earlier stuff. So I'm kind of doing it probably the illogical way, but I'm enjoying it anyway. This includes some, cartoons from both Jaime and Beto. But what I found really interesting was that there's 2 sections at the drawing board, one with Jaime and one with Beto. And these are just where he talks about material he uses, the process, light and dark, inking, line work, drawing freehand. I mean, if I'm going to read this, and I find this interesting, but if I were a cartoonist, I would get a copy of this and really read this, because if you're going to learn, you're going to learn from a master. There's got to be a lot of valuable, I know that everybody has their style, and this is 30 years ago, so some things have changed, but there's got to be some things that are still valuable today. If you're a cartoonist, you may want to get your hands on this one. Then some stories, pin-up, a Loca story, and then at the drawing board with Gilbert. And I'm going to enjoy kind of comparing and contrasting the 2, because they're both great artists, both great draftsmen, but they do things differently as far as their styles go. So I'm kind of curious to see what's similar and what's different, especially since they're brothers. So I'm kind of curious about that. Just really great work. Scrapbooks, some pictures and stuff. Back cover. And I got a couple of Love and Rockets back issues. I got issue 30. 30 is, I got issue 29 when I was in London last year. So issue 30 continues the 2nd chapter of Poison River. And then issue 40 is actually the last issue of that story that was first published in the magazines. But I love these magazine styles comics. I mean, they're just so good. It's just so easy to see the emotional acting, the facial, the way he just draws Hyman draws the faces, and it's just done so well. I love this. And then you have, after that, you have the 2nd part of Poison River by Beto. This is just really good. I wish I was reading this, 30 years ago. I wish I were reading this then. This is so good. And then I got issue 40, which it's a dual cover. It's Jaime and Beto. And this is sort of like, at 40, this is sort of like, hey, we did 40 issues. So you have another Jaime story here. And then you have the last installment of Poison River here as well. And then at the end, you have this just little 2-page featurette of Jaime and Beto just chatting. I'm kind of curious about this. And so that's pretty cool. So that's really it. Slowly get into the Love and Rockets tip. And thank you, Jeff, because he got some issues in and he actually got in touch with me and asked me would I be interested in any of them. And so I'm glad he did. That's what a good retailer does. They figure out what their customers or repeat customers want and say, hey, I got a suggestion. I mean, it's sort of like dangling, it's like dangling, chocolate in front of me or something. This is really cool. So that's the back issues. So that's it. I got a lot to read. I got a lot of good stuff. I got a lot of different stuff too. It seems, I remember when I was talking to Jeff the last time about pulling some of these comics and some of the other things, you know, he said, you know, you have a very interesting taste in comics, and he's such a nice guy. I know that he wasn't like throwing shade at me. You know, he was being complimentary. He's a really good guy. But it was kind of funny because I was thinking, yeah, maybe it's a little weird, or it's kind of just varied. But this is what I got. Looking forward to reading all this, and probably just put some comments or whatever on Instagram. My Instagram is RC_comics, COMIX. I'm on Instagram there. And of course, I have my YouTube channel. Check out the YouTube channel. There might be something that you like, may not bore you too much. And as I've said before, and I will say again, read better comics. Don't read bad comics. Read better comics. If you read more issues of Youngblood and Wildcats, not going to do much for you. Read the good stuff. Thanks.